prepared 1,652 offerings for Giriraj today. Since it is Gopastami, the day that Krishna is first given charge of cows, and it's a day in Vrindavan when the honor and gratitude and worship of the cow is offered. Let us offer our sincere gratitude for all of the cows of Braj Bhumi that provided their most pure and auspicious cow dung for us to cook with today. Srila Prabhupada, he told us that the barometer, or the instrument to determine the level of true dharma or spirituality in any society, is to be understood by observing how the cow is being honored, respected, and protected. Because for most all of us, she gives her milk even when we're small little babies. And therefore, we accept her as a mother. The cow is very much the symbol of mother, of the feminine nature of nourishment and affection. And therefore, to honor with gratitude the cow is not only symbolic, but it is very seriously revealing what our values are, individually and collectively as a society. The cow is providing not only milk, but the ghee for the performance of yajna. And yajna is for the benefit on all levels for society. Krishna tells in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita that at the beginning of creation, I has created the demigods and all humans and all species of life, and I also created yajna and said, be thou happy by performing this sacrifice, for that's where your happiness will really be. In this age of Kali, the most recommended and powerful form of sacrifice or yajna is Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy names. But in order for us to actually chant and have the deep benefits that we require, we have to live in harmony with the values that God has given us. Krishna's Govinda, which means he gives pleasure to the senses, to the earth, and to the cow. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmani Hitaya Cha. The cows and the Brahmins are especially very dear to Krishna. Why is that? Because Krishna is compassionate to all living beings. By properly following the principles that the Brahmins teach and the examples that true Brahmins live by. And we're not speaking about Brahmins simply on the basis of a caste or a birth. But Bhagavad Gita explains the true qualities of a Brahmin: truthfulness, honesty, actual knowledge of the scriptures, real exemplary devotion to God in every way. They are like heads of society that give direction to all of us. The Brahmins are so dear to Krishna because they are helping all human race, all human beings to come closer to Krishna so that all of us could be happy eternally. And by honoring the cow, the urine of the cow, the milk of the cow, the hundreds of various byproducts of the milk of the cow, the dung of the cow, has so many great benefits to the world and to human society if we simply understand that. In the spiritual world, the highest planet is called Goloka, which means planet of cows. Gokula, the place of cows. Krishna manifested as Govardhan, one who nourishes the cows. Gopinath, one who's the Lord of the ladies who take care of cows. Gopal, himself, he is taking care of cows. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Krishna gives us very easy ways to please him. But if we try to intellectually analyze things without the proper heart and direction, coming from the ultimate goal of life, God, of Krishna, then we will just mislead ourselves and mislead each other. Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna represents cow protection. He plays his flute and he takes care of cows. And Balaram holds plow, representing agriculture. Sustenance of society. In fact, even in the Western religions, although people don't really connect it so much, I could go into a lot of detail, but I'm not going to do it. But the holiest place for the Jews and the Christians, and one of the holiest of holy places for Islamic religion, is Jerusalem. And what does it call Jerusalem in the Old Testament? It's the promised land, the land of milk and honey. Milk comes from cows. So milk has always been a very, very important thing. Now these days, because the way cows are treated in the Western world, people are not drinking milk because of the values that these dairy companies, they take the milk from the cow, then they slaughter the cow as soon as the milk production goes down. Why should we give money to those people? Why should we support slaughter? Because factually in the West, it's not only the meat industry, but the dairy industry is based on slaughter of innocent children of God. And what to speak of the cruel ways that they're treated, just to get maximum production from them. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, they wanted exemplary places all over the world to show people the spiritual, the economic, the moral values of protecting the cows and the bulls as the children of God. And when we understand this principle, naturally our brain tissues will become more refined, and the culture that is built around these ideas leads one to actual compassion to all living beings, which includes the buffaloes and the goats and the sheep and the fish and everyone else. Compassion. Krishna has given us a way to actually develop that compassion. Foundationally, to honor those who give us spiritual wisdom and to honor our mothers. Gopastami. And Srila Prabhupada explained that protecting the cows and the bulls and the oxen doesn't mean simply not to kill them. It means to make them happy. And like all the rest of us, affection makes them happy. In the West, people are very, very focused on taking care of pets like dogs and cats. I remember when I was a little boy, my younger brother had a pet turtle. He was about this big. His shell was this big. And he named him Lucky. And he loved that little turtle. And the turtle, you know, when he gave him food and when he held him, you could see the turtle actually relates to affection. Turtles like affection, just like the rest of us. And when Lucky died, my little brother was beside himself in grief and had a funeral ceremony in our backyard where he buried him. And somewhere down, he's still there, I guess. And dogs, you know, when you pet a dog, it's not that they just like the feel of, you know, your finger scratching them. They want attention, they want affection. It's the nature of the soul in all embodied beings to want affection. And we do things for people as a way of expressing that affection. And people could feel our intention too. And that's what gives satisfaction. Srila Prabhupada was talking about one farm community, and he said when we call the cows, they come running because they're so happy because they want to give their milk. And it's actually a fact. I was there. I was one of the ones milking the cows. And we used to call them. And when we'd call them, we'd give them all kinds of nice grass, and we'd give them some nice different types of things that they'd like to eat. And then we'd comb them and brush them and pet them and talk to them and then milk them, and they were just so happy. And we used to have this special call when it was time for the cows to come to the Goshala. It was in those days I was quite young, so I didn't need a microphone. I would just go, "Ooh," and just make this loud sound, and wherever they were, they would come running, and they were actually smiling, because they knew they were going to get petted, and they were going to get brushed, and they were going to get fed, and they were going to get affection, and they were going to give milk, because they loved to give their milk. Reciprocation. And this is how Krishna, eternally, with Balaram, spends his eternal pastimes. And Sri Radharani, she is the supremost of the gopis, Gopinath Priya. So today on Gopastami, we meditate on this very beautiful reality of the spiritual world. And it's such a simple way by which we could please Krishna. And Krishna, when he is pleased, that is the success of our life. As individuals and as society, it's important that we make priorities. And the principle of cow protection is the priority of compassion on the basis of pleasing Krishna. So here at Govardhan, we will continue our Parikrama. Where did we leave off yesterday? Thank you. I couldn't hear anything you said, but thank you. Because when I asked where we left off yesterday, mostly I just heard everyone coughing. Still. From Uddhavakund, we come to the precincts of Sri Radhakund. First, on our right side, there is a small temple of Lord Shiva, Mahadev, and a kund called Shivakori. There's a beautiful story in the Puranas about this kund. It tells how there was a female jackal that was drinking water from Shivakori. Jackals are not popular animals, even among animals. And as far as I could see, even among jackals. Yes? If somebody is, well, I don't have to go into too many description, but usually if somebody's very evil or mischievous or cunning for selfish purposes, we compare them to a jackal. Yes? So they're very scrawny little animals. They're scavengers. They usually wait for something to die and then eat them. And they make really obnoxious sounds. Have you ever been to Mayapur at night sometimes, and the jackals? They're like, it's really... And when they're all doing it together, it's a very harsh sound. So usually the nature of children, if someone is not so fortunate, children like to really harass them. At least in America it's like that. In India I don't see that so much. You know, if somebody's a little fat or if somebody's weak, you know, people like to beat them up and make fun of them. Boys, girls, I don't watch girls so much, but boys are definitely like that. So jackals are a very outcast type of animal. So here was this she-jackal drinking some water at Shivakori. And the little children saw a jackal. They were obviously little boys. So they wanted to harass and torture the jackal. They started throwing stones at the jackal, and the jackal was going, just running around, just trying to, and then they surrounded the jackal so the jackal couldn't go anywhere, and they started beating the jackal with sticks, beating her head, beating the bones, and the jackal was screaming and screeching and tried to get away somehow or other. He just ran and ran and ran, this little jackal, and found a foxhole in the ground and dove into the hole. And the children, they were relentless. They wanted the jackal to come out so that they could beat him and beat her and beat her and beat her. So they took wood and gathered it all around and put it on top of the hole and lit it on fire. Now, for those of you who are cooking today, you know what it's like when nice smoke gets in your eyes and in your lungs. Well, imagine being in a little hole, and the outside of the hole, which is the only source of oxygen and air, is a blazing fire, and the fire's coming down and the smoke's coming down, and the jackal was screaming in total misery, couldn't live within the hole, couldn't get out of the hole, was screaming. And meanwhile, Sri Radharani with her friends were coming from Radha Kund. And she heard the screaming of a she-jackal. And Sri Radharani told Lalita, her own Shiksha Guru and her own most beloved friend, that no one should suffer in my place, Radha Kund. Go see who that is. Help her. Lalita Saki went running, and she saw all these little kids with their sticks waiting for the jackal to come out of the fire so they could beat her and beat her and beat her. And Lalita Saki chased them all away. Out from here. Chalo, chalo. And all the kids left. And then she moved the fire away, and she called the jackal to come out. And the she-jackal crawled out of the hole. She was crying. Limbs were literally shivering in fear and anxiety and pain. Lalita took the she-jackal to Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani patted the head of the she-jackal. The jackal fell at her lotus feet, profusely crying tears of desperation and gratitude. And Sri Radharani blessed the she-jackal, blessed her to be her eternal maidservant associate in the spiritual world. She attained the highest position of bhakti, devotional service, by the grace of Sri Radha. The jackal represents the conditioned soul, the living being that is somehow or other we have degraded ourselves. We're parts and parcels of Krishna. We're Brahman. We're eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. We're meant to be in the spiritual world, in rasa, in lila. But instead, like jackals, we're just like scavengers, trying to find some enjoyment here, trying to find some enjoyment there. And jackals are known for stealing from others. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Everything's the property of Krishna. We steal from God, we steal from each other. We're fighting among each other over what doesn't belong to any of us. It's like a jackal. And the whole is like material existence under the influence of Maya and the fire, samsara davanaladitaloka, the fire of samsara, the fire of the three miseries of the body, mind, miseries caused by others, miseries caused by natural disturbances, the fire of the repetition of birth and death. Death is like a fire. It's a time when, from a physical and emotional perspective, the body is just on fire. And we can no longer live in that blazing fire of the body. And the soul, in utter anguish, is kicked out. For a conditioned soul. For a devotee, the fire of devotion burns within the heart, and the soul is cleansed, purified, and liberated at death. The door is open to the spiritual world. Lalita Sakya is like the Guru, like the great saints. They come to where they are sent by Radharani to where we are, in our holes, burning in the fire, and somehow or other teach us the method by which, through their grace, we can escape that hole. And then they bring us to Krishna. They bring us to Sri Radha. And then if we are intelligent like that jackal and with grateful hearts we surrender, sharanagati, then we attain the ultimate perfection. Shivakori is a place that represents hope for all of us. Infinite hope. Whoever we are, whatever we've done, however much time we have to live, whether we're babies or 70, 80, 90 years old, there's infinite hope for all of us. The great gurus like Srila Prabhupada, they travel around the world to find us in our holes, to take us to Sri Radharani's lotus feet. The next place is Malyahari Kund. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami wrote a book called Mukta Charita, which describes a beautiful pastime that takes place in this kund. In a kunja, a little grove, forest, near the Malyahara Kund, Sri Radharani and gopis, they were threading pearls to make necklaces for their cows. How beautiful. The supreme goddess of fortune, who's Sarva Lakshmi, who's the ultimate source of all Lakshmis, is making pearl necklaces for her cows with her friends. And Krishna came by and he said, "Give me some of those beautiful pearls for my cows." Now please understand, these are rasa, very, very intimate exchanges of spiritual love. And arguments are ways of expressing our love in the spiritual world sometimes. So for Krishna's pleasure only, the gopis said, "We don't have any extra pearls." Krishna said, "Please give me some pearls." And Lalita Saki said, "Let me try to find a pearl for you." And she looked in the bottom of this little box of pearls she had, and there was just a very tiny little chip of a pearl. And she said, "Here, you can have this for your cow." And Krishna he said, "I am going to grow better pearls than you." So Krishna went to Yashoda Mai, Nanda Maharaj, and said, "Please give me some pearls because I want to plant them in the ground and water them with milk of our cows, and I want to grow pearl trees. And the fruits of those pearl trees will be the most beautiful, fragrant pearls that I could make necklaces for my cows." Yashoda Mai said, "Pearls do not grow in the ground. You have seen your father, Nanda Maharaj, he puts wheat in the ground, he puts, vegetables in the ground. They have seeds, but pearls come from the ocean. They don't grow in the seeds." And Krishna says, no, don't argue with me. Just give me pearls. I believe that they will grow." Yashoda Mai, she knew they wouldn't grow. But just for Krishna's pleasure, she gave Krishna precious pearls. Now, how many of you mothers would give your children precious pearls to plant in the ground? That is the love of Yashoda. So Krishna planted a bunch of pearls, and then he went to the gopis, headed by Sri Radha, and asked them for milk. And they said, "You can't grow pearls. We're not going to give you milk for that. It's a waste of milk." So he went and got milk from his mother. And Yashoda Mai, anything for Krishna. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. This is a very high level of consciousness. So Krishna was watering the ground with the milk from the cows. And after a few days, little sprouts came up. Unbelievable. Yashoda Mai saw sprouts are coming up. And Krishna showed gopis, "See little sprouts?" They said, this is just thorn sprouts. And a few days later, they became beautiful creepers, like trees with beautiful vines. And within a week, they were fully blossomed pearl trees with creepers in all directions. The pearls were beautiful, of all colors, shining. And not only that, they were intoxicatingly fragrant. Have you ever had experience of a fragrant pearl? This is Vrindavan. These pearls were so big and so multicolored, and they were just effulgent. And Krishna was just to give an experience to the gopis. He put pearls on all his cowherd boyfriends, the most incredible necklaces. Then he put pearl necklaces on all the cows and all the bulls And all the goats, all the buffaloes, all the sheep, started putting them on peacocks. And to really get to the gopis, he was putting these magnificent pearl necklaces on the monkeys of Vrindavan. And oh, how happy they were. And the gopis never saw such pearls. They asked Krishna, give us some of those pearls for our cows. And Krishna said, I'm not going to give you pearls. Grow your own. So they said, all right, we will grow better ones than you. So Sri Radharani, gopis, they went to their parents, said, give us your pearls. They said, you can't do this. But somehow they convinced, and they took all the jewels that they had and their parents, they planted them in the ground. They were watering them with yogurt, with pure ghee, with milk. And after a few days, thorn bushes came out. Krishna was laughing. Meanwhile, the gopis were thinking, what are we going to do? We borrowed all of the pearls of our parents' jewelry boxes, and we have to give them back, but we have nothing to give them back. So they were really difficult, so they went to Krishna and tried to bargain with Krishna. And they went to a beautiful little kunja, and Sri Radharani was hiding where Krishna couldn't see, as the other gopis were trying to bargain with Krishna to get some nice pearls so that they could give back to their parents and everything else. And the bargaining ended up that stalemate, as they say. Krishna would not give. But then Krishna revealed his heart. He personally made beautiful boxes. And with his own hand, he thread together the best of the best of the best of all the best pearls that the universe has ever seen. And he put these pearls in each box. They were worth beyond any cost. And then within his own hand, he carved Radharani's name and the name of each of the principal gopis on the box. And he had Subal and Madhumangal deliver these boxes. And when the gopis received them, Krishna was happy with them. It's not the pearl, it's the love, the pearl of prema. And Sri Radharani cooked for Krishna, and Krishna was satisfied. And in this way, Radhanath Das Goswami, he shares with us one of the beautiful pastimes between Radha Gopinath and the spiritual world. It's a window. We hear about God, we hear about the kingdom of God, we hear about the absolute truth, we all hear about the all-pervading Brahman. But what's happening in this spiritual world? This ever-dynamic, ecstatic exchange of sweet, innocent, pure love. And we pray. We pray to Radhanath Das Goswami and to the holy land of Vrindavan and Govardhan and to the Vaishnavas that the supreme pearl, the pearl of the wisdom of how to please and satisfy Krishna through our every action, word, and thought will be revealed to us at every moment. And the crest jewel of all treasures in life, prema bhakti, pure love, be our highest aspiration and our ultimate goal. To give that jewel to others is the greatest happiness of the heart. We then come to Sri Radha Kund. In the Adi Purana, it describes how Radha Kund was manifest in Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual world. It tells how Radha, Shyam Sundar were sitting on a beautiful jeweled throne in Goloka, in a forest. Suddenly Krishna's love for Sri Radha became so overwhelming that he entered so deeply into her state of consciousness that Krishna form turned into Sri Radha's form, and she started crying out, "Krishna, Krishna, Krishna." And Krishna, in the form of Radha, ran into the forest crying for Krishna. And seeing this, Srimati Radharani, she became so completely engrossed in Krishna that she assumed Krishna's form, and she was crying out, "Radha, Radha, Radha, where are you, Radha?" And she ran into the forest. And meanwhile, the gopis, they didn't know what to do. Radharani was in Krishna's form crying out for Radharani. So they ran to Krishna, who was in Radha's form in the forest, and said, "You have to help. You have to help Srimati Radharani. This is her state." And then there was a divine voice of Yogamaya that said, "Call Radharani to you by chanting her mantra." And he chanted her mantra and she came. And then Krishna, with folded palms, conquered by the love of Sri Radha, he said, "Because of me, you have incessantly wept tears of separation, and I've done the same. And just see, the tears that you wept in your love for me has filled a pond of water, which will be called Radha Kund. And the tears that I have wept in love for you has filled another pond of water, which will be called Shyam Kund. And anyone who takes bath in these kunds, in your kund, will get the same love that you have for me." Then Srimati Radharani bathed in Radha Kund and manifested her. She was in the form of Krishna, and she came out as Radharani, and Krishna in the form of Radha bathed in Shyama Kund, and he came out as Krishna. And on the banks of Radha Kund and Shyama Kund and Goloka, eternally, the most intimate pastimes of love are taking place. In this world, the Srimad Bhagavatam explains how the most wonderful things can oftentimes come from most difficult moments.